So when it comes to families, we're in the middle of summer. We're going to have visitors. If I have someone coming to visit me from another province, do they need to quarantine? Do I need to quarantine? Do we need to take any special precautions?
Yes. Anyone
Yes.
traveling needs to quarantine for 2 weeks. Period. End of sentence.
No matter where they're coming from.
No matter where they're coming from.
Okay, so what does quarantine look like then when someone's coming to my house? What does that mean?
So theoretically, if feasible, they should self-quarantine away from your house before they come to your house. If they're coming directly to your house, then you and the whole household needs to quarantine for 2 weeks. And what that means is not leaving the house unless it's an emergency, ordering things in, having other people drop things off for you. You have to pretend or envision that each and every person in that household is now a carrier of the virus, whether you feel unwell or not, until that 2 weeks period has passed.
So I think, one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that transit, so anybody who is traveling, particularly coming from an area of high prevalence of COVID, and then, taking a 3-hour flight or 5-hour flight and maybe not being able to travel directly, maybe stopping off, at another airport, etc. All of those steps, all of those hours actually adds to that risk of transmission.
So does that count for blended families? Like, for example, we've been hearing a lot about, parents who don't live with their children, for example, or they share custody. And now a lot of parents, now that as the provinces are opening, are now, obviously wanting to see their children and, restart that the shared custody. Is that the same thing? Like, can your children safely go between houses? And I have a feeling, Dr. Hill, you're going to say this has something to do with the people you choose to be in your bubble. But what do you think? What should we do in that case?
I think it has something to do with the people you choose to be in your bubble. So in Ontario, the pandemic social circle has been expanded to 10 people, whether they live in the same household or not. And so what I would say is in those blended families, you would do your best to try and maintain that bubble, that social circle to 10 people. Again, I started the conversation earlier by saying common sense and by saying reaching out with empathy. It may not be possible. If you are a family of 6 and your ex is a family of 6, that pandemic social circle is going to be a family of 12. And I think that everyone needs to understand that. And that's part of the social construct we have as Canadians, where we all do our best to protect each other. There's no perfect in this. There's no grade A+, there's no 100%. It's just about everyone making the best choices they can make to protect each other and themselves.
So when we're talking about adults, like you and I, we can have a conversation that makes sense about physical distancing and the importance of it. But what about small children? So I know for myself, my kids are wanting to have sleepovers with their friends, and the friends aren't in our bubble. Wondering, safe? Oh, you're shaking your head already. Okay, so that's a big no.
That's a big no. I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they are desperate to see other people, to the point that when we go for our socially distanced walk around the block and he sees our neighbors, my 2-year-old says, "Look, mommy, people." And it's heartbreaking. But it's what we do right now, and we do it right now so that 6 months from now, hopefully we're not where New York and Milan are. 6 months from now, hopefully we're where we are now or somewhere better.
I thought the sleepover is not a good thing. Not right now.
No. I think everyone's just desperate to find a thing that works, to resume that social aspect of life.
Yeah.
And that's where the pandemic social circle comes into play, right? So you find a group or a family that has children with similar ages so they can socialize and they have that bit of socialization and that bit of interaction. And you can do visits that are socially distanced apart from that. So one of the things we've done on our block and that I'm planning to do is set up a sprinkler. And so there's a few kids on my block and they can take turns running through the sprinkler and they stay 6 feet away from each other and it's outdoors and it's a little bit of socialization and a little bit of normalcy.